Hello, everybody. Welcome to your 11th Office Hours podcast for Roo Code. I'm your community manager, Hannes Rudolph, and today we have with us Adam, GosuCoder, the YouTube streamer, as well as Dan. He works with us. He is our reviewer. He reviews all the PRs and support requests. So today we're going to be just doing live question and answer. We'll show you some of the MCP or the Roo Code Marketplace, as well as um, a quick rundown on setting up indexing on your computer. It is still experimental, but I can show you how it works. So please, if you have questions, start typing them in the office hours chat here. Welcome, Adam and Dan.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Do you want to introduce yourself? I know some people may be familiar with you, Adam, but if you want to give a bit of your background and such.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Adam. I started doing like YouTube videos about my journey through kind of learning AI and everything, and that's just been more of a hobby on the side. My primary day job is I run a company that uses AI to. You can kind of think about it in the marketing space, kind of like the Lovable for marketers. So we do like workflow automation from beginning to end of everything a marketer would do, from planning to creating and stuff like that. So that's my day job, and then been coding for about 25 years now.
Hmm.
Um, and this is probably like the most exciting time I can remember in all that time. So happy to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me.
And no problem, no problem. And Dan, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah. I've been working with, I've been coding for like 4 years now. Right now, I'm working with Roo Code reviewing PRs, as Hannah said. I know a lot about the Roo code base as a result of that. So I can answer some questions about it. And if you have them, please leave them so I can
Have
answer
you?
them.
Can you tell us a little bit about your contributions to Roo Code?
Yeah, I worked on indexing. Codebase indexing was made by me. Still experimental, still needs polishing. I basically had the idea of adding it when I played with Cursor a little bit. It's pretty much inspired by Cursor, and I think it's working pretty well. It needs polishing, and we're working on it.
Okay. And also, I guess one more question. What do you think of my new shirt, Dan?
I think you need to give us one so we can be, in uniform for the podcast.
We need ball caps and t-shirts. Do you like this
Yeah, yeah.
better than the one with just the Roo Code at the top there? What do you think?
It like those TS JS shirts. They're cool, but they look like every other brand React. You see them a lot on TED talks about React and TS TypeScript. This one has some more style for sure.
Well,
I
I've
really like
never
it.
been accused of being stylish, so I'll take that compliment. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It matches my microphone. See? Look at that. Yeah. Okay. So enough about my shirt. I think we are at 42 people here. Um, let's ask Adam a few questions to start. So, Adam, Context 7. Do you want to tell us your experience with Context 7 and what is Context 7 and how people can use it to effectively find the documentation, the most recent documentation for the library they're working with?
Yeah, honestly, Context 7, it's a brilliant idea for MCP because it basically takes this huge world of documentation with all these libraries that we can be a part of, and it processes it in such a way that it can be accessed via MCP connection. I will say, in my experience with working with it, there are times that it works absolutely incredible. Like it gives you exactly what you need. But there are other times where you kind of need to really prompt it properly to get the right context into the context of the AI. The way that I ended up finding the most helpful was all of their APIs are public. You can go into their GitHub repo, look at their APIs, hit them directly in Postman, and
Okay.
pretty much see like what it's returning as part of the payload that's going to get put into the AI. So if you have a couple frameworks that you're using constantly, just go figure out like the context that you want in there and like how you want to query that, and it works pretty good. Uh, you can try it without doing that, but I will say it's hit or miss. Like I did a bunch of tests, and there were times that I would get things I needed, and other times that I didn't. And it's primarily because of the way they're doing the searching, and the AI has to decide what to search for, and then they have to
Mhm.
kind of rank it and kind of turn it back. So with any of that, you're going to have hit or miss results there. But it's incredible uh, as a like MCP tool. So I don't know. Any other questions on that, or does that kind of answer your question there, Hannes?
No, I think that answers it a fair bit. Here, let's I'm going to switch over to my screen and let's go and check out the new Roo Code Marketplace. Here, I will
This is
click it
cool.
up here. Okay, I'm not sure if people have watched this video, but I'm going to post this in our chat. There you go, everybody, right here. We have a little video of me blabbing about it, but I'm going to give you the live version. So, um, where are we? Okay, we have it. Let's maximize that and go to our marketplace right up here. Click that. Oh, right here. And you can find different um, MCP servers. We're going to click the Context 7 one. We can install it project level, global level. You can install it. There's installation methods often vary depending on the specific MCP server. In this case, we're just going to use npx and install. Okay, now it is installed. If we go to our MCP tab, you can see it's right there. And we can, here, I'm going to do that one more time, but this time on this podcast demo repo. Boom, install, done. Okay, that was easy. Go to MCP tab. Yes, it's showing. Refresh. Yep, it's running. All is well. Let's ask it some questions about, can you tell me, what's a good query here, Adam?
Can you tell me how to create a component in Vue 3?
View 3, like that?
VUE 3. Yep,
Like so.
yep.
Use the context 7 MCP. Let's see what happens. Okay, I did not test this beforehand, so this could be a live fail. Okay, it's asking to resolve the library. It wants to look up what we've got for a library on context 7 related to Vue. Okay, so context 7, it found Vue.js. Is that what we're after?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. I should have known that, duh. Hmm. Unable to render diagram. Interesting. Not sure what that diagram was, but it is not rendering it.
Single file. Oh, it's a mermaid diagram of some kind,
Yeah, a
maybe.
mermaid fail. Okay. It's a Gemini 2.5. It doesn't always nail it on the mermaid.
No.
But okay. So there we go. So it if you're watching here, it dug up a bunch of information on the question that I had. It was as easy as that. One click install with the MCP or the Roo Code Marketplace. Now, in the Roo Code Marketplace, let's shift over and take a look at modes. This list is very small, but it's growing. So also pretty easy to manage here. You can install like that. I want it on project level, install, boom, puts it there. No problem. Brings it right in there. I can then select it right there, and I've got documentation writer mode. Do we have any questions about that, anybody? Does the response from the MPC counts toward um, model tokens. Absolutely. Everything that the MCP responds with in this case, it first did a search. Here, I'll flick back to that screen. Um, it first did a search um, and came up with all this information. That all went into the context of the model. It then did another search and came up with all this context. Ooh. So all of that went into our model. So it absolutely 100% eats up your token usage. What do you here? Flick back to you, Adam. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to what Dan was saying pre-show a little bit. In you really don't want this to be part of like your main coding mode. And I would say like you really want like your context 7 in an orchestrator type setup. And Dan, you did a really good job explaining this because I did something very similar where I actually had like a researcher mode, and my researcher mode would actually call context 7 to gather stuff, and then it would summarize it and then send it back to the main orchestrator. That then I don't know if that's the most ideal, but that's the way kind of I was orchestrating it through
I guess then
to
you can
keep that
also use
context.
a lower end model, right? For
Exactly. I was using Flash, Gemini 2.5 Flash for the MCP stuff because it was
because
so
it
cheap.
can gather the basics of your request, right?
Exactly.
Ask this,
Yep.
return that. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, once you figure out, how to use context 7, what uh, problems it might have finding the stuff that you want, you can tell the model, actually instruct the model to try again if it doesn't find the actual answer. You can give it more instructions, so it actually answers the question that the main coding model or the orchestrator has. It's actually better like that, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Here I'm just going to flick back to our questions.
Yeah, someone is asking, what's the use for the GitHub MCP server? I've started using it recently, and it's actually pretty good. It basically gives the model the ability to use GitHub, create issues, create PRs, get the comments of an issue. I use it a lot for reviewing. When I'm actually reviewing a PR or an issue, I set the model to take a look first while I'm actually looking at the code myself or testing. So we work together to review the actual PR, the contribution, uh, and basically, yeah, figure out if it's good, if it needs tweaking, if it has some issues. It's actually pretty good. It's a pretty good MCP. Does
Does
it
it
have
have
access to?
access to the GitHub project? Yes, is what they're asking.
Yeah, I think it has access to everything. There might be some, missing parts, tools, but I think it does have access to projects. You can configure it so that it only exposes certain tools. So it, because it has like I don't know, like 100 tools. I'm not sure, but you can configure it so it only allows access to issues or PRs. You can configure it like that. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay, I stopped streaming so that I could um, install this actually, and then go from there. I just don't want to show people my key. So, okay, I have installed it. Let's see if I can get this streaming and show you guys how it works. Dan, you need to come up with a good prompt for me to ask it on the Roo Code project.
We could do a
Uh,
PR review.
Oh,
yeah,
hey, that's a good idea. Okay, so how do I share my screen? Man, why do they hide buttons? I'm right here. Come on. What am I missing? I just had it shared. This app is sometimes the most frustrating. See, I can turn off my. Okay, share my screen is not highlight anymore. Nobody's here helping me out here. Wait for sharing
Checking
to
mine.
start.
Oh, weird. I still have access to share. Very
Hmm.
helpful.
Okay, well, apparently sharing my, oh, there we go. At the bottom, there's another one. Make a selection. Boom. Okay, I'm back. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Okay, what do we got? Let's go to
PR reviewer.
PR reviewer. Okay, give me a PR, Dan.
Right. Let's
Should I use Opus or should I try with Gemini?
yeah, you can give Gemini a try. It's actually pretty good at yeah, reviewing PRs. Let me find something that is not too big because it might take a while more.
Okay, issue writer. Then in the meantime, when I enable MCP, when MCPs are enabled, the enable MCP server creation is enabled by default. I don't like this.
Give
Let's see
this
what
one a
happens when
try.
I tell issue writer. Hold on. We're
Uh-huh.
using the issue writer mode. Is this a bug report? It's a detailed feature proposal.
Someone is
Thinking.
asking,
Oh,
can we
that's cool.
selectively enable tools?
That is coming very soon. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah. We do have a PR that is really close to being finished that precisely adds that feature. You can disable the tools. It won't be, the tools won't be shown to the model. They won't be in the prompt. So yeah, that's something that is coming. It needs a couple of fixes in the UI, but yeah, we're really
It's gonna be
close.
awesome. That's huge.
That is because yeah, some of these MCPs have just so many tools. Okay, so we're searching. Okay, there's the GitHub MCP not working. Let's see what happens this time around. Okay, it just gave up. My GitHub MCP is not connected? Oh, well, I give up then. Okay.
We can imagine what that would look
Uh,
like.
okay, well, I guess I'm not sharing that screen for the moment. In the meantime, let's move on to another question, but I'll get this up and going. By the way, Roo can now modify multiple files can it now modify multiple files at once or just read? Do you want to tell them about that, Dan?
Yes, it's a recent feature we added, experimental feature. You can now edit multiple files at the same time. It might be confusing to some models, to some of the smaller models, because it's more the actual structure of the tool is a bit more complex, but it works pretty well with Sonnet 4 and Gemini 2.5. So if you want to give that a try, go to the experiments and enable it. Root can also read multiple files at once. So now we can also edit multiple files at once with Roo Code.
Yeah. Okay.
You kind of have to prompt it equilibrium to kind of tell it to do it currently. At least that's been my experience. Is that kind of what you see too, Dan? Is you kind of have to tell it to like multi-edit in the prompt a bit?
Yeah, that's something we will work soon. When we add a new tool that needs, a specific way of calling it, the model always ignores it at first until we tweak the prompt to actually encourage it to do it.
Okay,
Because
here we go. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, the models expect tools a certain way. They're trained in a way that they expect one tool call edits one file. They don't really expect being able to edit multiple files at once. Models try and do one thing at a time. Is what I've seen. So with some encouragement, yes, it can actually do it by themselves. We're working on that. We'll make it so it does it more often.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm back into creating my feature request here.
So is
It's
this a
doing
mode
its
that's
thing.
available in the marketplace?
Not yet. Nope.
Not yet.
We're still
Okay,
tuning it. It is available. It's in the Roo Code repo, and it specifically
cool.
applies to the um, Roo Code repo.
That's cool. I didn't know about this one.
We're still playing with it. So adds extra context to the system prompt not needed since most users are not going to be creating their own MCP servers. There we go. Okay. How would you like this to be solved? Change the default to false. The extensions configuration. It sounds like a good idea.
So Neo
Um,
Kawai is asking, would it be possible for Roo itself to do it? I imagine you're talking about concurrent file edits. The models can. We basically want the model to give Roo the actual tool call because it knows what the user wants to do. So Roo can actually it does handle a lot of the underlying complexities of editing a file. So finding where the text is, applying the edit, fixing errors that the model might make. So the tool does handle a lot of the actual complexities of file editing. Yeah.
okay, there we go. It has made the issue and let's see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, how's that going? Issue created. Okay, there, it just created an issue that describes, and it even goes into and gives says, hey, here's where it should be changed. So it's a one-line change, pretty simple. Let's try the PR reviewer. What PR were you thinking?
Let me share it again.
Just what number is it?
Yep, it's 4314. It's actually a
4314?
fix. 14. Yeah, it's actually a fix that it should
Okay.
be almost ready. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go over here. Should we use Opus for that?
Yeah, we can give Opus a try.
Yeah, okay. Let's give it a go. While we're watching, I'm going to pull up another question. Okay. What do you think the best model for coding is now? Well, I lean a lot towards Opus because I find it gets the job done slowly, but it just gets it done for the most part. I have been playing a lot with Sonnet and Gemini 2.5 and very much enjoying the output. And so I can't say for sure that Opus is my favorite simply because I don't always use it. I don't find that I find that its context of 200,000 can be limiting when working on some problems, and Gemini handles those problems quite well, especially exploration um, type tasks. Okay, on my screen here, now let me fetch different pull requests. Okay, is that what we want to do, Dan? You made this mode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fetching the actual diff, basically the changes made by that PR. That mode will fetch the changes. It will use the GitHub CLI to check out to the branch, so it can actually check the files, not just the changes, but also the files that are related to the changes. to figure out if if it's well integrated with the code base. Because you can see a lot from the changes themselves, but you also want to check the files around the changes.
Ah, okay. Here, while this does its thing, I should head over to the previewer or the reviewer. And here, let's go back. Roo is doing its multiple reads. Here is the workflow. Um, we've got, how many steps here? They just keep coming. Step 7, step 8. Okay, so here we've constructed this workflow with XML tags. We found this to be a pretty successful way of building modes. And this isn't something top secret we're holding back from you guys. We just don't want to release a mode writer that writes modes like this until we've made it a little less confusing. So it is coming. We're talking internally about how to best do this. So yeah, back to the PR review. Dan, we have a question. It is asking, would you like me to submit individual review comments? It found a critical issue. The fallback model handling could mask configuration problems when selected models don't exist locally. Um, inconsistent error logging levels between Olema and LM Studio fetchers. Performance concern with sequential API calls for Olema. Model details type safety improvement opportunity for dynamic key lookups. So there's a bunch of different things.
Yeah, some like for this mode, I won't actually just let it review a PR and ignore whatever it's saying, just submit it. I'll actually go through and see if the actual points that it's bringing up are valid. Because sometimes the models might be too strict. They want perfection sometimes. So yeah, at this point, I'll check the point, and if they actually make sense, if the points actually are valid, I might make the model actually leave a comprehensive review on the PR.
So should I give it the go ahead?
Yeah, you can tell it to create a comprehensive review, and
Okay.
so we can show how it looks on GitHub.
Okay,
So
so
now
we
go
okay, go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. No.
We'll actually use the MCP to leave to create a review and leave the comments in the actual code files and in the actual lines that matter. This is the GitHub MCP server. So now it will actually leave the comments in the files and actually the lines, the relevant lines. I made it so it doesn't just output markdown, a wall of markdown. It actually asks the author questions about the code.
Okay, let's see how it's doing.
You go to files changed. Yep.
Okay. Has it started
You'll
leaving any? Wow, that's a whole bunch of stuff there.
actually
Let's
go
see.
back to the comments, Hannes.
Okay.
You can see them. You can see the review at the bottom.
Oh, where here? Oh,
Conversation.
conversation.
Yeah. Go down and
Here
you'll
we
see
go.
them there. There they go. Yeah.
So this is automating
That's
everything
cool.
we came up with and submit a review. Yes, you could use a CLI as well for this. I think that we don't have the CLI instructions embedded into Roo quite the same way Claude Code does yet, but running via CLI is 100% a way to do this. Okay, so we have now just left a review, full details, and yeah, we don't usually vibe code it this much. We make sure to look over every bit. In this case,
Broad.
it spammed out the comment twice, so that's nice. Okay, so let's try this other thing people have been asking about. Mode writer. Do we have that in there? Oh, we do. Look at that. What kind of mode should we make? Anybody?
Let's actually create a researcher mode for context 7. See if that
Good idea.
it won't be able to actually. Well, if you enable it, yes. Let's see if it comes up with something that actually tells. It actually includes the tools.
Okay, so what should I prompt it? Um,
To, the way I use mine is I use it to answer questions. So I use this mode as like part of the orchestrator where other modes ask it questions to return it. Yeah, exactly.
um, okay. Okay, you'd appreciate if somebody could answer. Oh, I did answer. I said that you can use the the browser tool. Let's see. Will the browser tool be supported by non-Claude LLMs such as Gemini? When we've tested it, they don't click where we want them to. So we could enable it, but the cursor is not going to do what you want it to do. So it one of those things we'll continue to test and try to get working, but not something we're going to reinvent the wheel for. There is a browser use MCP that does a great job at handling this, actually. Okay, so the question, what specific type of research should this mode handle? What kind of information should it gather about the libraries before implementation? Are you seeing this, Adam?
See what you got here. I would pick the. Honestly, I'd probably type in something new and say something along the lines of what I want to make sure that I'm using the right API calls, function calls, whatever the library is, however you want to word that. Um, so what I really want to return is API definitions, function definitions, component definitions, stuff like that.
Um,
Yeah, I would see what that does.
okay. This mode here is still definitely in the works. That's why it's not released. Somebody said, "How does Klein have decent support for a browser tool, including?" I don't understand. It's simple as this: um, Claude has computer use training, and not all other models do. And so you can, if you'd like, jump into the code base, enable it, see what happens, and um, yeah, let us know if it's gotten any better since we last checked. I'll try to check this afternoon actually, because I do absolutely want this feature enabled for people, on other models. It's really annoying to only be able to use it on Anthropic models, in my opinion. Okay,
Yeah, we
now I
already
will.
talked about that a little
Okay.
bit.
So here it wants to save this role definition, when to use this mode as a subtask from Orchestrator when you need to research library APIs, function signatures, component definitions before implementing a feature. This mode gathers technical documentation to ensure correct API usage and implementation patterns. Does that sound good?
That's beautiful.
Okay,
That's
save. Now it's going to create instructions. Oh
Man,
man.
these modes are going to be killer when you guys get these pushed out. It's going to be awesome to play with these.
Yeah.
Does this also have a similar like workflow? Oh, dang.
Hmm.
Oh, it seems like it lost the mode that it was on.
It did lose.
You might want to change back to main, the branch.
Well. Oh, it
If
messed up
yeah,
the implementation here. See, it made a mistake. It's formatting.
Yep.
Okay.
I think you can select that part and just tap two
That's all
times.
it
I
needs, you
think.
think?
Yep, I think. Yeah, there we go. It's back now.
Okay.
Will Roo support IntelliJ IDs like WebStorm? So I've seen a couple of discussions about that. It's a lot of work to port Roo to that. It needs some changes. The discussions I saw about this were before we migrated to a monorepo structure. So we might have to look into that again now that we have a new project structure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something we have considered and talked about.
Okay, so the mode overview here, the researcher mode is specialized subtask mode designed to gather comprehensive API documentation and implementation details before future development. It works primarily with the Context 7 MCP server to find accurate, I keep saying MPC, like, oh goodness, to find accurate function signatures, method definitions, and usage patterns. Okay, so step one, understand a research request. Step two, connect the MCP server. Step three, discovery, API extraction, usage patterns, documentation. I don't know if this is any good, but let's just hit save. Using this to auto write a mode is interesting because it sometimes seems to work right out of the box pretty good. But I always find when I review the actual steps, there's improvements that are pretty obvious to be made. Some models will handle them better if there's contradictions. Sometimes a model will handle it 95% of the time if there's a contradiction, and then 5% of the time it will act funny, and you'll wonder why. Eliminating those contradictions can reduce this issue. Okay, so this here has created a tool usage guide. It goes through we have two different tools, and it describes, I guess, when to use them and how to use them. It has examples. This will help to give your often MCP servers don't get called naturally. This is basically creating instructions for them, when to use them, how to use them, instead of just having the tool exposed to Roo. Okay, it is coming up with some examples. React research, hook research. The orchestrator modes needs to implement a feature using React hooks and requests research on use state, use effect, and custom hooks. There we go. It's come up with an example. This could be an absolute trash mode. I have no idea.
Yeah, for sure.
So someone is asking kind of unrelated question, but
Okay, go ahead.
does Roo read when it's reading multiple files? Does it read the file, the content, or just the structure? So you can actually change that if you go to the settings. Go to the settings context. You can actually change how many lines it's going to read by default. If you set that to 0, it's going to read the structure using the AST. And if you set that to -1 or you click the checkbox, it will always read the whole file. It doesn't matter what range the model specifies. So you can switch between reading the file, reading a part of it, or just the AST, the functions and stuff in the settings.
Yeah. Good insight. Thank you. Okay. It's thinking, thinking, thinking. Another question. Do you guys plan on a corporate paid marketplace, or is this against the Roo philosophy? We do not currently have a planned paid Roo Code marketplace at all. The idea here is to make modes and MCP configurations easier. We're also working on um, packages you could get. So you would have modes and MCPs packaged together. You could implement it in a project, no problem. Instead of having to download 12 different modes plus 3 different MCPs, you could just download the one package and boom, it would get configured in one sort of smooth step process. Okay, how many years do we have to wait in order for Roo Code to code with local large language models with good accuracy? Adam is our sort of like our celebrity pro at this, but
Mhm.
Adam, do you want to give us your input on that?
I would say we're kind of there now with Devstral, but you just have to keep in mind the frontier models are going to be way more capable. But I've ran evals on Devstral, for example, and it runs in line with like Gemini 2.5 Flash pretty well. So you've got a local model I can run on 32 gigabytes of VRAM, and it works pretty well with Roo Code. Um, so I think you're kind of there. The advancements, I don't know. Time will tell. I thought we were going to be faster than we actually were at this point. I figured we'd have better local models. Llama, for example, didn't turn out as good as I was hoping. So it'll be interesting to see like what the next year brings in advancements there. But I think from a frontier model perspective, those are always going to be better. It's just we're going to have to find jobs that work well with local models and like offload some of them locally. That's my take on it. Yeah, you can run Devstral, but you got to drop $3,000 for 5090, or you can also run it on a $1,000 7900 XTX, but it's going to be slower.
Okay. I think with large language models, local ones, part of the issue is that what we consider, I think you outlined this in our pre show talks, what we consider to be a good model is a bit of a moving target based on
For
the
sure.
latest SOTA models. So I guess 6 months ago, what we would consider to be a great local model is very different than what we consider today. So I think that, like you said, we have arrived if we just change our perspective to 6 months ago and go, okay, well, the models we have today, if we would have had them 6 months ago, would we be impressed? If so, then why not be impressed today?
Yep. Yeah, I think the challenge is for those of us that are doing this for like we're building something that we need to get out the door to make money. That's ultimately like kind of what we're building. And if you're using something that slows you down,
Hmm.
it's I don't know, like I think we're going to have a tendency to just go with the frontier models, but I do think there is a philosophy where there are very simple things that can be done with these cheap models that we can offload some of those costs. And I think over time we can kind of move that window a little bit more. But I'm having a hard time now seeing a future where we're fully using local models like on a desktop. I think there might be a future where a company has like AI like capabilities that the entire team can use, but I don't know about like from a individual computer standpoint.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2.5
No,
Flash is very cheap.
it
It's
is
extremely
super cheap. It's crazy, crazy fast too. Um,
very fast.
so this mode that I'm using here, this mode writer, it does not like the examples. I think that part of the issue might be related to the parser doesn't like it when you have tool calls listed in the output. It triggers tool calls. So there is a few PRs in the works to get this corrected. Let's go to another question. Why do the benchmarks on model performance for coding diverge so much in terms of performance? I don't know exactly what they mean, but if they're referring to the Roo Code benchmarks, evals, then I think something I've noticed is it's really easy for a model to hit 90% because these exercises are uh, a singular problem. Here's the problem to solve, here's the process to use, and here's the test file. So, you know, make the 99 bottles of beer on the wall, you know, script. And that is though it is agentic technically, it's almost like one step. It's not going in, looking at a code base, um, looking into the problem that was described, and then coming up with a multifaceted solution. It's basically a pretty mono solution. Write a file that passes this test and does this thing. And so models have gotten really, really good at this, either because they're trained on the kind of eval data, or also what would be pretty likely is that they're just really good at coding. If you say, write me a code, write me a hello world script, um, they can do that. Write me a 99 bottles of beer on the wall script, or write me a one page 200 line code file that does this or that. They can do that pretty well and then troubleshoot it pretty well. The issue is when you start going, okay, well, I would like a complex project that has forms over here and a database over here and an administrative panel over here, and we'd like to enable auth, and we'd like to deploy it through this service, et cetera, et cetera. Then it becomes complicated because it needs to juggle those needs constantly. And when it's working on coding a single aspect of that, if it doesn't figure out how to take into account um, some level of the rest of the project, then its individual solutions as it writes files will be crap. They won't apply to the overall project. I saw Adam here. It looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time in this world on evals, and I think what the conclusion I've come to is it's basically how you use it. And to your point, if you're literally just writing, like solving a problem in a single file, the even local models have gotten good at that. Like the challenge is working with existing code bases or giving a very complex like PRD or some sort of technical specification and having an AI be able to take that from beginning to like let's say 80% because you're never going to get to 100%. So a lot of my testing I do and my evals I run are unfortunately manual. So you basically the way that I do them is I build these. I have 20 of them. I have 20 like complex prompts. I feed them
Hmm.
into Roo Code for a model. I kick it. I let it run auto approve everything. Get to the end. Then I have unit tests I run on it. Did it follow the instructions? I actually scan the code to make sure certain things are the way they are based on the specification. And then I use LLMs as a judge with prompts that I've been fine tuning to try to get consistency as good as possible there.
Hmm.
And to me, that's a better indication of how, like when I look at the things that I generate, they align much more with the real world of actually coding with things versus the a lot of the benches that you see out there, like Simple Bench or Sweet Bench. Those are they're running huge amounts of tests, but they're running things that models are just good at. So it's not indicative of how well they work with AI coding assistants, which is what I think everybody here cares about. It's like when we think about coding, we're thinking about using it in real code and it working well.
Hmm.
When they think about coding, it's like, can it make a Python script and then does a function pass? It's just two very different things.
Yeah. Well, we are actively exploring how to get evals to work effectively with Roo for measuring these more complex things. And I mean, we're not there
It's
yet.
hard.
I keep, that's why week after week I keep telling people this. I would say it's
It's so
already
hard.
here otherwise.
It's Yeah, because it's very manual. Like it's a very manual process. It takes a
Yeah.
ton of time to do.
Oh, hey, it says we're done. I don't know how well it did. Let's see. Is it there? We have a mode called researcher. Huh. Wonder what it does.
Hmm. Let's get a view JS again.
Well, it's supposed to work with Orchestrator. So um, let's see. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and going back to the benchmarks, the reason that they're all so different from each other, like you see like a different model in the top 3 for each, is that they're completely different methods of testing, and they use completely different tools than every other benchmark. So that's why they're all so different.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's basically why you just need to use the model, try it out, see if it works for you in the tool that you're using, the use case, and figure that out.
Okay, can you tell me how to create a component in Vue 3? Let's see what this says. Using researcher. Yes, go ahead. This time I didn't have to tell it to use the MCP server. Okay, it's doing its thing. What do you guys think about the new pricing on 2.5 Flash? They included it from 0.6 to 2.5 in the name of simplicity. Now both thinking and non-thinking have the same pricing. I don't fully understand that question, the middle part, but I understand the beginning and the end. Thoughts, Adam?
I haven't thought about that a whole ton yet. I do think it was kind of odd that thinking and non-thinking had different prices. To be honest, I actually think it's probably just a smart thing for them to normalize it the way they did. But I don't know. I think all those are just they're so efficient right now for things that uh, I don't know. I haven't worried too much about the pricing in particular on those models.
Yeah. Here's what we came up with. This document provides a guide to creating.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So this is, if we use this in Orchestrator, this is what would
Great.
output back to the main mode.
Yep, that's good docs.
Yeah, well, there you go. So we just made a mode to do the thing. And so once we iron out the kinks, we're going to not only make this mode create um, a thing that you can easily use, but also we're going to start publishing a lot more modes. If you guys are adventurous, you can easily dig into the Roo Code database or the Roo Code code base. And if you go to your Roo modes file over here, you can extract the mode writer, mode writer right here. Oh, this one. You can extract that and then go grab your mode writer files here, copy this folder into your Roo modes, and boom, it'll work. And you can put it in your own project. Is there a way to make Roo code perform well for large scale refactors? Because I'm trying to refactor large scale monolith into microservices. Okay. I would answer this in collaboration with my um, the people here, Adam and
So,
Dan.
so I
But go ahead.
yeah go. I was just say go for it. I didn't know. I didn't mean to
I was going to
interrupt.
show some indexing.
Oh, that's a
Actually.
perfect thing to pull up.
Okay, so we've got a few more
Uh,
minutes. You can answer it while I
my
get this set up.
quick advice would be for something especially critical, you just want to do it piecemeal. So have AI build a plan of the most impactful single change it can make unless you know what you want the change to be. Implement that single change, test it, then do the next one. I have not had much luck trying to do massive refactors across a code base without being kind of surgical in that way. So that would be my advice. And I know it sounds painful because you wish you could just make AI go and do it, but what you're going to end up doing, it's a lot of functionality is going to break, things are going to get left out, UI is going to look different, and then you're just going to end up spending way more time trying to track that down than just trying to be surgical one at a time, moving through it. I don't know, Dan, if you have different feedback.
No, that's pretty much it. You will never achieve a refactoring, even if it's a small project in a single task. Even if you're using Orchestrator, you'll probably fail at some point because it's making a project from scratch is quite easy for a model. But refactoring what it's already there, especially without breaking stuff, it's a pretty hard task for sure. You want to be involved in that process. Basically, tell the model exactly what it needs to do.
Em, what do you think about that? Em joined us on the call. He's got some experience with this.
Well, it's very similar to what the guys just said, but you want to take it in an extremely slow method. So break the project down yourself into different key areas and work on that specific area for the plan, and then add them all up at the end, and then split it between multiple different orchestration tasks, I would say. But code-based indexing would help a lot with that as well.
While you guys were talking, I punched it up here and I went and enabled code-based indexing. I just went into experimental settings, enabled it, put in my API key, and my quadrant URL. In this case, it's a local setup. And then I watched this here as it went from yellow to green. It told us our status. Now, when we ask it a question about the database, it will be much more capable of understanding it. This is an excellent tool when you're looking to refactor your large code base because building your plan can be a lot more automated. You can petition Roo to build a plan based on this and this, and then ask it to build that plan, and then you can ask it to verify steps and dig into them and then make corrections to its plan based on what it finds out, because often the large language model will sort of see the breadcrumbs and make assumptions, and that's normal. A human does that too, but giving it bugging it to look over it is key.
Yeah, indexing in this
For now.
case, it's not replacing the ability of the model to read the files. It's just giving it clues about whatever you're looking for. So if you ask about a feature that you want to create a plan for, the indexing is not going to return all the files that belong to that feature. It's just going to point the way. Like, I found this snippet that mentions the feature that you're looking for. Roo can decide if it's going to read the file, if it's going to ignore it completely. Basically, it just gives clues about what you're looking for. It's not going to make assumptions, because that's a concern that you might have. Okay, it's returning this information that it's not accurate, or it's just a piece of the code. What we want from code-based indexing is just to point the model in the right direction, so it can choose to read the file if it finds it relevant.
Yeah.
Yep. I think
Okay.
about it like the way before AI, back when I got thrown into a new code base and I'm trying to figure out something, I start by searching, and then I'm scouring through, and then I'm trying to figure out like what I need to read, and eventually you land on the spot you need to go. What code-based indexing does is it gives you kind of a good starting point. So it gives the AI the ability to go like, I don't need to go do all this initial stuff. I can start here, and then I can do my REPL loop of like going through all the things that need to happen to get to where I need to go. So I don't know. That's the way I think about it. I don't know if that's accurate in the way you think about it, Dan.
Well, you
But
guys were talking. I asked Roo to tell us how Codebase search tool works in this Codebase, and it answered it for me. Um, it used indexing. It used the Codebase search tool to search for Codebase search tool, and it came up with, um, you know, okay, relevant code snippets. And then it did not read them. It read one file to look at the tool, how it works, and then it gave us a summary on how it works, including a really neat. Oh, look at that. We can zoom in or even save this file. Boom.
It didn't read the other parts because you asked about the Codebase tool. So it actually read the file that is called Codebase tool. If you ask how the Codebase indexing service works, probably will get you a more detailed answer.
Cool. Well, this is all for today. Thank you for joining us on our office hours. We've hit our 1 hour mark. My name is Hannes Rudolph. And once again, thank you for joining us, Adam and Dan, as well as Em. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Here,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
See you later.
Bye
See ya.
bye.